Hey there, welcome in. My name's Josh. This is the EmbodiedJosh podcast where we talk about artists and their mental health. Today on the show, we have a good friend of mine, Adrian Virlan. He's a concept artist. I was actually on his podcast along with Dom and Adrian about a month ago, 2 months ago, and we all hit it off. And I asked him, hey, would you want to go be on my podcast so we can talk more about art? And he said, sure. So here he is. Adrian, welcome. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. It's really nice to be here.
All right. Well, let's just get into it. I mean, okay, so you're a concept artist. It's 2021. Why don't you tell us how you got into concept art specifically? And like, that could be high school, that could be college, but like, how did you get to where you are today? And how could somebody else start making money full time as an artist?
All right. Should we start like right from the very beginning? Or
Yeah,
'cause
man.
it's like I think I just got into this the way many people could relate to it. Like, oh, I always liked to draw.
Mm.
I drew since I was a kid and all that stuff. But I could say that I never gave up on it. I basically started to try every single technique that was available for me. I remember when I was a kid, I was just copying the cartoons I would watch on TV,
Mm.
and there was a point pretty early in life. Actually, I was quite surprised to look back nowadays and see that I was not doing anything different than what I do right now, which is to create my own characters with their own, I don't know, their own clothes, armor, weapons, vehicles, those worlds that I was kind of dreaming of. Because you get to a point where you're kind of like tired of just copying what you see all the time. So you want to kind
Yeah.
of give it a twist, and make it your own thing.
Yeah.
And I would say um, in high school, I guess, there was this time where I realized that there was an opportunity for me to study this type of career in graphic design.
Mm.
And there's a design school here, and I gave it a try. And it was mostly about graphic design and logo design and more oriented towards like advertising, I guess.
Mm.
They also did have a couple of subjects that were really cool, which were photography and filmmaking, and that opened like a completely new world for me, right?
Yeah.
And um, yeah, man, I just gave it all right there. I was like so excited about that. I wanted to try and see if I could learn that because I was like genuinely passionate about that, right? And it's not like I stepped away from drawing or anything like that, right? And by the way, by this time I didn't know anything about concept art. All I knew
Mm.
about this was that if I Google concept art, I would find like really cool, awesome video game images. Like back then, it was like the first Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
They just came out, and I was like so it was amazing to see that kind of art. And I gotta say, dude, when I like photography was this subject that I remember the teacher asked us, like he asked me actually, like, Adrian, have you ever been interested in photography? And I'm like, no. And he was like, well, hopefully
Nah.
after this class you will, because photography is a really beautiful. And he started
Yeah, yeah, he
rambling
sells you
about
on
it.
it.
Yeah. And well, they made us basically buy our own DSLR cameras, and
Wow, wait.
I
They
was
made you buy a DSLR? That's expensive. In high
it's
school?
really expensive, dude. Yeah, like,
They made
well,
a
not
high
high
schooler
school.
buy a
This is
DSLR
this is
for an
yeah,
elective
this is like
class?
right after high school,
Oh,
you know?
oh, 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 okay.
I'm not sure how to call this because that's what I'm telling you. This is like a specialized design school. So
Okay.
it's like I'm done with high school right now.
Okay.
It's like I don't know. I think this is the right next step for me, so I decided to go for that. And
Okay.
yeah,
So not
and,
in
and
high
they
school. It's like
basically
a like college or
no,
like a
it's
trade school, like the
yeah,
next after high
it would
school.
be yeah, it would be equivalent to a college degree, I
Got it.
guess. And well, I tried that, and dude, I was the only one in class that would bring the camera every single day. And I remember my colleagues were basically calling me out on that because like, dude, why did you bring your camera?
Oh, you
Today
try hard. Oh.
we don't have photography class today. Why do you always bring the camera? I'm like, shut up, dude. Like I like this, right? So I would basically learn every single function of the camera. I was really, really curious about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because a few months earlier, I just said to the teacher that I've never been interested in that,
And
and it
photography.
suddenly became like my new thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing was filmmaking. We had this other subject where, besides the boring aspect of the history of films and movie making
Yeah.
and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I was so obsessed with, I couldn't watch a movie normally anymore.
Mm.
I would be always like behind the camera.
Yeah.
And what I mean by this is that I would try to guess, hmm, what's the lighting scenario right here? Like, what's the setting? Like, I can see a spotlight right there, and then they put like, so I guess that's how they made it. And all the lenses,
Yeah.
what kind of lens are they using here? Oh,
Dude,
look, that's the kind of stuff they teach us in class. Yeah, I
I
spotted it
had
right there.
when I was in film school, it was the same thing. I there was this phase where I was obsessed with trying to spot kickers and rim lights, and every single movie, every single time, I'm like, a kicker, rim light, it looks so sick.
Right?
It's like it was like a little
Yeah,
mini
you're
game
so
every time. And
yeah.
it was described to me where it's like, because people are like, oh, so like if you know how things work, does it like depreciate your appreciation or value for the media that you're watching? Like if camera angles, if you know lenses, if you know lighting, if you know cinematography, if you know the composition, all these things, does it kind of take you out of the viewing experience? And the way it was described to me, and that I would agree with, is that it's almost like cooking, where it's like you appreciate the palate more. Like it's still
Right.
just as delicious to you, but it deepens
Hmm.
your understanding and appreciation of it because you understand like what went into it. It's like, those
Exactly.
judges on like the cooking shows where they eat it and they're like, needs more of this. And you're like, piss off, dude. Sure. Like how do you taste that? Like, what do you mean? But it's like the same like
Yeah.
parallel. But that's really
When
interesting.
you
So
learn
photography,
how to
you
get
got into from photography, which seems unrelated. Was concept art on your mind at all at
yeah.
this point in college, like after high school, which you just want to make it sounds like you just liked cool stuff. You liked visual design essentially.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it was. Look, I never knew exactly what career path I would go for
mm,
because all I cared about was, I told you already, ever since I was a kid, always painting this technique, acrylics, oil painting, pastel, every single technique, I would try and see what I can do with it and see which one I liked the most.
mm,
But then in high school, I remember high school was this other chapter because they only taught us how to use like charcoal and especially dry techniques, basically,
mm,
and it's the boring kind of painting that cube and that little pot and that
yeah.
little, yeah. So that was like another type of experience, I guess. And right after that, this school came in,
Mm,
right? Which is where we still had we had a subject that was about painting. It was more like stuff that I didn't really try before. Like, of course, we've all tried, for instance, markers, right?
sure.
But not in the way they would use them in like industrial design or, that kind of rendering techniques.
Mm,
So when I tried it that way, I was like, wow, I think I like this. Of course, that was only at the moment.
yeah.
Afterwards, I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't like that anymore. So, but yeah, really, the photography thing opened up so many fields for me that I'm still using all that knowledge in what I do nowadays. You
Mm,
know, you have to be aware of all that, the perspective, the camera lens that you would use, like simulating this shot, or
yeah.
and concept art is crossing over with 3D so much nowadays.
Yeah.
So they're blending together at a point where you're basically using, it's like a multidisciplinary kind of skill to have,
Yeah.
So
So at that
yeah,
point, just when you were all over the place creatively, and you were really open, you weren't super focused on I'm going to become XYZ. You were just experimenting and learning and growing and seeing what you liked and what you didn't and what kind of stuck. And looking back in hindsight in the rearview mirror, you can appreciate that because you see that it all kind of, none of it was wasted, I guess. None of it was unvaluable, and it helped shaped your like artistic taste and sense, so to speak. But in your own mind, like, This is great and all that you were having, you're really enjoying photography, but were you worried or thinking about like how are you going to make money? Like was this something that you were just enjoying and you were down for the ride and the creative adventure was there and you're just like this is a hobby, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go be an accountant because I have, like I know that can't make money with this or
Hmm.
like was there ever a point where you thought that it was great and then you realized bills existed and you were like, well, piss, I guess I have to be a good photographer now because I'm good at that and I had bought this DSLR? Or like, how did you handle the reality of having to provide for yourself in the midst of this exploration?
Yeah. So I guess I was like fortunate enough to have a really loving family and really understanding family that always nurtured this sense of creativity that I had, this curiosity I had for the creative process to just hone my skills to a point where I could make money off of them. And we all know how long that takes, right?
Mm,
So that's why I say fortunately they understood this. And yeah, I was in a position where I didn't really have to worry about that. But of
mm,
course, I was like, dude, we can't do this for free anymore, right?
yeah,
So let's take the photography thing, right? Man, I did like photography sessions for I started doing it like for fun with my friends,
sure.
my cousin and stuff like that. Like, yeah, just trying to be as professional as I could, right? Exploring my skills, my creativity, the way
Sure.
I took the pictures and everything, and the way I edited the pictures. So, of course, someone else saw that and asked, "Hey, who took those pictures?" And it's like, "Oh, it's just this guy. He's like pretty
Me.
good." And it was like, "Yeah, okay, I would like to try. How much is it?" And I'm like, for the first time, I'm like, they're willing to pay for this.
Wow.
That's so cool. And dude, I said something as low as $5,
Oh, sure, of
right?
course. Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I get
did
it.
I did like over 30 pictures, all edited. I I went on site to shoot the pictures and
Yeah.
everything
Spending
for
your own
five
gas
bucks.
for fun. Yeah, exactly. Basically, just for
$5.
free, but with dignity. Dignity plus free. Like you start there.
And it was pretty quick for me to realize that that was wrong, because when I got home and I started editing all of that, I just realized that, hey, it's not only the shooting, it's not only doing all the work, like physical work with the camera and trying to, it's now I have to sit here and go through all these pictures that I took and just edit all of every single one of them, right? And it
Yeah.
was taking so long that I thought, dude, this is worth more than $5.
Yeah.
But of course, it was too late. So
Sure.
this is how you learn, I guess. The next time you ask for more, and the next time for more and for more, and maybe one day you say too much and they back away, and you have no clients, and then you say, okay, I'm gonna charge less. So you kind of find your sweet spot. For me, I never got into photography at a professional level because it was not what I wanted to do.
Mm.
It's a skill that I think I enjoy at a personal level, right? But it's definitely not what I wanted to do as a professional. So, fortunately enough, when I was just getting into this new world of photography and filmmaking and all that stuff, I even did a short film with some
Mm.
friends, and that was such a fun experience. Um, I just realized that there's this channel on YouTube called the Fengzhou Design School kind of
Yep.
thing,
Mhm.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
design cinema, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, at that was like the clicking moment for me,
Mm.
this moment of, oh my god, this is a thing. This is literally
Yeah.
everything I've ever wanted to do. It's like where all my desires converge together into this possibility of making a living as this kind of artist,
Yeah.
working in games and films and all that stuff. So I just started to learn, and I was just practicing at my own place here at home, and I was kind of simulating that I was already working for some other
Sure.
companies,
Mm.
and like simulating just for me, right? It's not like I was faking it online or anything
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
because that's easily misinterpreted. But I was just at home kind of imagining there's like an art director asking me to design this character, and then I have to come up with like an environment, and then this and that I was posting online, and that's when I started making a lot of to open to make more contacts, more connections
Hmm.
online, especially on those Facebook groups, which were for like related to challenges, also to feedback. And well, all of a sudden, someone spotted me and asked me, "Dude, we're working on a video game. Are you?" And I'm like, "No, but I would like to." "Okay, we need an artist." And I'm like, "Sure, let's do it." And that was it.
Was it paid,
I was
or was it just
oh
for
yeah,
working on it?
it was paid. It was a small studio, but they were like, yeah, it was a professional job. It was like I was first for the first time I was gonna be like a legit concept artist because that's
Yeah,
what they hired me for.
yeah.
So I was like super excited about that. I spent working with them for like 2.5 years, almost 3 years. I had to move to another place as well during that journey, and yeah, it all escalated. Like we were going to so many events to present the game,
Mm.
to get in touch with our audience, and that was really cool. And then I embarked into this other journey of freelancing, right? So that's already like 3 to 4 years ago, and I spent the first year just working on a personal project with a friend. It was his idea. We started with a bunch of other people, but they unfortunately couldn't follow up. They
Mm.
could not deal with
Yeah,
it, and they
sure.
had other stuff to do, and they dropped out of the project. And I kept going with this guy for like another half a year or so,
Hmm.
and then it like naturally started to fade away. I was going for my own stuff, he was going for his own stuff, and I started to take the R Station challenge. I remember it was the Wild West, that one back then.
Yeah.
So and slowly I was starting to I also started my own YouTube channel back then. And by the way,
Hey,
I
there you
knew
go.
you from back then. I Yeah, 2017 or something like that. I was
Hmm.
like, holy shit, you were like 1.5K subscribers or something like that back then.
Hey, there
So
you
I was like, holy shit, this guy is so much ahead.
go.
I mean,
No.
he's like, I mean, no wonder, like your video, like the quality was, it's so good, man. I really dig your vibes overall. Like the
Oh,
way
that's
you
sweet.
explain
Thanks.
stuff, the way you would talk about things. So I was not aiming for anything like I want to make money off of YouTube.
Mm.
I was just genuinely curious and genuinely excited about sharing my own knowledge, my own journey per se.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with all those videos. And of course, naturally, you improve, you learn stuff, you make better videos, and yeah. And um now I'm trying to keep up with everything because there's like so many things I would like to do. And it was funny because I just saw like a friend of mine struggling with this idea of not having enough physical time to get all the ideas that he had in mind,
Mm.
right? And he's
Yeah.
like frustrated and wondering like, what should I do? I want to do this and that and this too and this. So I like I related to that so much
Yeah.
in that very moment. I'm like, dude, I would like to talk to you, because this is exactly what I feel like. There's so many things you have to take care of. Like
Yeah.
financial wise, yeah, you can make money in so many ways. You can make money working for clients, you can make money selling your own brush packs or prints or whatever
Yeah.
on your online stores. You can make a Patreon, or there's all of these ideas that you think about, but then you wonder, where would I start? It's
Sure.
so overwhelming. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of at that point, but I guess this is a nice moment to introduce you to my project Heavenurium, because that's
Mm.
like my Zen space. That's my personal universe, my world where I just dive into it and I forget about everything.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything else. I just want to breathe that kind of fantasy world that I like so much. And
Is it an
I
art book? Is it a web comic? Is it a game prototype?
I don't know. I only
Ah,
know
so world
it's
building stage. We're still building the
it's
world.
it's an idea. And of course, the closest thing I can aim for is a book.
Mm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I think it's not because it's like easier, if some people want to call it that. Oh, it's just because it's easier to make a book,
No, it's not.
I don't know.
That's
I don't
ridiculous.
think
That's still super
everything
hard. Shut up.
yeah,
That's fine. Ignore
everything's
them.
as hard or as easy as you convince yourself to
Yeah.
be, right? So I think I just feel so attracted to the idea, probably because I have so many art of books,
Yeah. Mhm.
and also I'm really in love with so many other stories, like naturally of that type of that kind of that genre,
Yeah.
about fantasy and all that stuff. But this is kind of related, like this Adrian nowadays. I would like to relate that to the Adrian that was back in the design school,
Mhm.
like the Adrian that couldn't watch a film without being there, without being behind the camera and trying to guess where everything, all the technical stuff, right?
Sure.
That Adrian didn't care at all about the story,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, the camera, oh, the actor, oh, the light, oh, look at that, oh, and then the cut, and look at the editing and the effects, and oh my God. But he didn't really care about the story. So
Mm.
nowadays, it's exactly the opposite.
Hmm.
Storytelling is all I care about
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's
No, I
almost like,
agree.
yeah, I do remember all the technical stuff that I learned, of course, but now it's like I'm realizing there's something lacking on this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have told me that, like, Adrian, your work is like it has a lot of story, man. When I look at your images, it's like I see a lot of storytelling going on, and it's it's something that you don't really realize, from the inside. It's
Yeah.
almost like when they tell you the thing about the style, like, oh,
Sure.
I really like your style, and I'm like,
What does that mean?
what's my style? I don't
Yeah.
think I have a style. But other
Yeah.
people can tell that, and
Yeah.
and I don't know.
So right
Yeah.
now, like, it's kind of, I don't, this word could be charged, but I mean it in the best possible way. That you're in a pretty privileged state to be able to be that your problem is a good problem. It's like a rich person problem, not necessarily, but as in, like, how there's different hierarchies of problems, like first world problems and like real problems, right? Like, you're at the
Yeah,
point
yeah.
where you're so good, you're so comfortable in your comfort zone of creating artistic things, of creating and designing things visually, that your biggest problem is, what awesome thing am I going to make next? Like, that's a pretty sick
Yeah.
place to be. Like, that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. So,
I'm
like,
aware of that.
like, with that being said, like, that's awesome. Congratulations. But
Thanks a lot.
how could, you mentioned before, circling back to something you said, is that there's so many different places to start. There's so many, it's kind of overwhelming. There's like, you make it sound like it's so easy. There's so many different ways that you can make money online. I know you don't think it's easy, but like,
Yeah.
how could, it's
'Cause I'm
awesome.
not making it.
Yeah, but like,
I'm trying to.
how could somebody start in 2021, assuming that they figure out they want to do this, they want to do art, they sense and have some idea that making money online is possible, being an artist is possible. How would they start doing that? You mentioned you were posting in Facebook groups back in the day. What is it? Spit Paint, Spilt Paint. There was like some famous Facebook
yeah,
group.
Daily Spit Paint.
Yeah, Daily Spit Paint. That was a huge
I
one.
definitely tried that one.
Yeah.
Level Up was the main one back then.
Yeah. But like
David
now, and
Zabrowski and Jonas Zero, and I really liked that they made like a YouTube channel for that, and they were making these kind of long format videos, inviting like guests from the industry.
Yeah.
That was like, for a beginner, that was the best you could have.
So for now, would the equivalent of that be like, okay, sure, yeah, get good, do your fundamentals, do your drills, like practice, but like, where would somebody start? You mentioned like, I want to talk into, I want to hear your thoughts about freelancing basically, and getting that first gig. Because in your story, you were self-teaching yourself at home, putting yourself in like a mental simulation of like, which takes a lot of discipline of like, okay, if I was in a studio, I would have an AD and he would be asking me this and I should deliver that.
Yeah.
And you were really, mentally putting yourself in that situation. And then you kept posting, and then somebody reached out to you and you got your first gig, and the ball kind of started rolling from there. Like, how can somebody get their first gig and have their ball start rolling? Like, yes, okay, practice and then post stuff online. But is there more to it than that? Is that too simplistic? Where would they post it? What kind of stuff should they post? Like, what tell me more about the mental simulation that you put yourself in to get into that headspace to be able to create the work that would get that first contact. Like, how can we get people money in their pocket to be able to finance their dreams in a way that they could still do this, right? And not, like how can somebody start doing this and be encouraged instead of feeling like that I feel is really common of like, man, I want to do this, but there's no money in it, or even like I don't have the time, or it's like I don't know where to start. Like, how can we keep that dream alive in the land of the internet where there seems to be so many details and so many things to be stressed about and confused about and not know where to start? Like, do you have like some insight that could get them on the right path and give some sort of structure in a very confusing place to start?
Yeah, I think I have. I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, right?
Sure.
But I remember when I started, I was just I couldn't help it but to keep thinking that all I wanted to do, like my quest, right? My mission with concept art was to get to a big company
Sure.
and work among the best of the best artists out there. You know, the
Yeah.
most famous guy you see on online. And yeah, I guess you slowly adapt. It's not like you give up on that dream or whatever you want to call it, right?
Hmm.
It's just that you adapt, you learn from your mistakes, right? And I don't know, in the beginning I was like extremely convinced of that, and I probably getting hired that early cuz I think I only spent like a year and a half, probably something like that. I also came out of like a bad time in my life, when I had this relationship with this girl that I didn't really enjoy for too long.
Hmm.
And let's say I came back and my friends welcomed me back,
Hmm.
right? And we started
Hmm.
hanging out again. And right after that, all this kind of concept art focus came to my mind, where I was like, I should take I should take care of this. I should really start focusing on my career. And that's when I guess I started to let go of the commissions on, let's say, logo designs and photography sessions and all that stuff, and I started to focus on what I thought was my call, which
Hmm.
was concept art, right? Everybody back then had like a personal project. Every single artist had something that they were coming up with, and they were like, here's my personal universe, this personal project that I'm
Sure.
creating. And
Hmm.
I'm like,
Hmm.
damn, that's so cool, man. Like, I want to do something like that too. So I was
Yeah.
trying to force it, right? I was trying to force it, and it never worked, of course.
Yeah.
And I just, yeah, I just got hired by these guys. And I think that's what provided me with this false sense of like success.
Hmm.
It was success after all at a
Yeah.
certain point, because it's like, dude, if I get hired as a concept artist, man, I can prove everybody wrong, because there were so many people just kind of
Of course.
trying to talk you out of it. Like,
Yeah.
don't go for that, man. Like, just go for a real job, blah, blah, blah. There's so many other things you can do as a creative.
Yeah.
Not video games, they're stupid, they're useless.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
when you get there, you're like, okay, I made it, and then a couple of years later, when I embarked in my journey as a freelancer, you just realize that this is like a completely new chapter in this game, right?
Hmm.
In this book of your life, whatever you want to call it. And it's like, now I have to start all over again. I really felt like I knew nothing
Hmm.
at that point. Like, yeah, I guess I can call myself a concept artist because I worked as a concept artist. But if I compare my work to someone else's work who I admire and I aspire to be like them, it's like, it's not even a fair comparison. My work is just so bad. So that's when you start learning and you start focusing. I guess that kind of pressure really helped me to focus on my weakest points, I guess, during this project that I worked with my friend on. I just focused on stuff like line drawing, not much painting, just design, pure design,
Hmm.
variations, all the concept art related pure concept art stuff. Like, do 100 masks, right? Do 100 this, another variation of that. It's not like he was talking like this, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to dramatize it a little
Yeah.
bit. And you know what I mean, right? Like, I really got a grasp of what that really felt like. because in the studio I was the only artist. Like I had no one above me,
Yeah.
and that's what you want really. You want to be surrounded by people who are into what you do
Yeah.
and way better than you, so you can learn from them, right? So I guess that's the reason why I didn't learn too much. I learned, of course, about the whole um what should I call this, like the workflow, like the chain
The
of
pipeline.
the pipeline,
Yeah.
exactly. So I learned a lot about where everything should go. Like they made me learn 3D as well, which I kind of complained about back then, but now it's like I'm thankful
Yeah.
because that actually helped,
It's
you
awesome.
know. In the very beginning I was excited about that because ZBrush, I can sculpt in 3D, that's so
Yeah.
cool. But then it's like you have to prepare them for like it was not 3D sculpting only for like a concept phase, it was
Yeah.
like no, this is the final asset for the game engine, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to
Yeah.
do
It's
that,
like
right?
I'm not.
and
Yeah.
and I had to learn. And yeah, and that's where contacts that I made from those Facebook groups
Yeah.
really helped. So
So it sounds like
yeah,
that
anyway.
a lot of the formation of your growth as an artist was basically being in over your head and having to learn and having a community of people around you to challenge you to go outside of your comfort zone. And in, 2021 or 2020, even, with COVID especially and lockdown, it's like the reality is that, yeah, that'd be sick. Like maybe you could get that as an internship or you could get that, as your first job. But the reality is that might be just an online, that could be a Discord server. That could be a
Yeah,
group somewhere, right? But the important thing is to
exactly.
get people to be involved in some sort of artistic community, which I guess is a tired cliche because I feel like that advice is fairly common. But then again, you have to consider that the best advice is often the most cliched because it's true, so people just keep saying it, which turns it into a cliche. But that's really kind of cool that you were able to have the mental discipline to be persistent in your dream for
That's
that,
the word.
like
Discipline.
discipline.
That's the
Because
key word. Yes.
I mean, like everybody. So I guess let's talk about discipline because from your story, it's super meandering. It's photography, it's design, it's concept art at
Yeah.
a
By the
studio,
way,
it's
I don't think I've
freelance. It's
answered your question, but we can get to it again later if you want.
yeah. I mean
The thing
the
about making a living, as a concept artist and all that
yeah
stuff.
yeah. That's I'm wanting to talk about that for sure because
Okay.
I've just been trying to figure out which part of the story to go into the most. Like, because you have so many different mini little chapters here. But let's,
Oh yeah. I'm not sure how much time you have, but there's a lot to talk about if you want to go down that road.
yeah, we
And
got we got 30 minutes left. We're about halfway through. So for the
okay.
second half of the podcast, now that we have a bit of a better feeling of your story of where you've come from, let's talk about again. Let's go back to the first question of making money, right? Or if not, like what other jobs could you do to make that money to be able to stay disciplined? And then let's talk a bit about how you're able to be consistent because your story is really all over the place, but the real constant is you and your determination and your persistence and your ability to learn new things and go outside your comfort zone and do things. So for the last half of the interview, let's see if we can focus on tips to make money and how you can have the mental fortitude to be able to be consistent despite changing plans and a global pandemic or all the different things that come in between you and what you think your goal would be of like being at some big studio.
Yeah. Okay. So I think yeah, discipline is key. Basically, you need to stay consistent. You need to build this habit, right? And man, I there was a time where my friends called me the challenge guy, because it's like I would take. I like to experiment all those things on my own, like on myself,
Sure.
right? And be it something physical, be it something mental, be it something related to your profession. I like to see how far can I go, right? And I remember back then I was getting into, because the physical way is like the most visual example, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take it for example, like go to the gym every single morning, wake up at 5:30 in the morning and
Yeah.
just go to the gym, then go to the work and see how many days I can do that in a row, right?
Yeah.
And I got close to something like 100 and something
Hey,
days, and
nice.
I was like all over the place, crazy. And a lot of people, my father included, my dad was like 50 days in, he was like, why do you keep doing this? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's not about what makes sense to others, it's about what makes sense to you, right? Like,
Mm,
I know why I'm doing this. I know it doesn't make any sense to you, but that doesn't matter,
mm,
because I have a goal in mind and I know what I want to do. And the same way you go to the gym every day, you can run every day, you can paint every day, which is something that I did later on. I started to kind of embrace this habit of sketching every day, and those sketches would turn into finished paintings. I was aiming for something like, okay, just a 30-minute sketch, and then it's like 3 hours later I'm finishing this piece. And dude, seriously, they turned it out to be like one of my best pieces, some of my best pieces, because that habit is like magical. I think when you get a grip of it, it's like, yeah, try spend like a week without doing something you're really used to do. Just take that long break. You'll see how long it takes to get back to it, like to regain that focus. It's almost like, you see, when you're this creative practice is different from any mechanical kind of thing. Like, I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, when you build a wall, you can take a break anytime you want. Just laying bricks is just, I'm back now. Another
yeah.
one. But try to do that with like a story, or like the flow of an image. It takes longer to get back to it. That's why there's so many professionals that are like, they have like strict rules with their families, especially when working from home. Like, this is the time where none of you guys, unless it's like a life death situation, you can't come in here. Okay, you don't come into this room because I'm busy, I'm working, I'm doing this. And yeah, I think discipline is key in that sense. And again, what I did was to try to mentalize myself, like to set my mind to the habit of just painting every day.
Mm,
And sometimes I failed, sometimes I took it back, sometimes it doesn't always works.
mm,
I think we're all unique. We all have like our own journeys. What works for me might not work for you, and vice versa as well. But there's only one way to figure that out. There's only one way to find out, and that's by trying it, right? Practice that. Try to see if you can do it too, right? Before kind of talking yourself out of it.
yeah.
So, yeah,
If you don't mind
I would
sharing,
like.
what's a discipline structure, like a routine that you found helpful to be able to actually get stuff done, to actually, do the drills, create things? Like you mentioned working out physically, and are you a morning person? Are you a
Yeah.
night owl? And just the value of discipline. What are some things that you've learned on your, experience of becoming disciplined to actually to get out of your head and get stuff done?
I'm sorry if everything I say doesn't make any sense to your viewers. I'm sorry, guys, but it's like I have a quite divided mind, like this kind of opposed opinions on stuff.
Mm,
It's like, the analogy of those two wolves that
yeah.
keep fighting each other. It's like, yeah, I mean, this makes sense, but this makes sense too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just go, no stops, no breaks, no nothing. And the other one is like, you have to learn how to recover and take breaks
Take
and stuff like
breaks.
that.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of learning all this process on my own.
Yeah.
I see other people like, I think there's this culture that is pretty toxic about like motivation and don't sleep and every day get up and do that. And I think I had enough of that a
Yeah.
few years ago.
Yeah.
And I tried everything, and you ultimately learn from your own stuff. So a nice routine for me would be to get enough sleep, right?
Mm,
And waking up early doesn't mean you sleep less. You
mm.
just have to adjust and sleep earlier,
Yeah.
that night. And that's it.
Yeah.
Go to sleep earlier. And then I would recommend exercise in any way, either if it's like just stretching or just doing a bunch of push-ups or just whatever you can to get your body moving, you know. And I don't know, man. I don't really know how to relate it to how important that is for someone who's like sitting here for like 10 hours a day, just staring at a screen. Your eyes are not even moving and they're just so focused there. We have to think about all these things that are affecting our bodies long time, because when you're young you don't really care about that stuff. It's like, yeah, I'm fine, man. I
Yeah.
don't care about that. And then it slowly starts to materialize into reality, and you're like, yeah, I guess he was right.
Yeah, you have arthritis and you're like, "Oh, great. Your lower back hurts all the time and you can't bend your knees because you turned 30."
Yeah.
Like, sure.
It's like that meme of my back hurts, but I don't know why. And the guy's like sitting like this,
Yeah, like a
you know?
freaking shrimp, dude. Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel you.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I would just say that, a nice practice would be to. I was just thinking about it these days. Like what keeps you moving forward? Like, why do you keep going this way? Like why do you do it? So I guess it's just because you're driven by it. You're
Mm,
passionate about whatever it is. You like to draw mechs, you like to draw robots, weapons, futuristic weapons, medieval weapons,
mm,
characters, anything, whatever you like to do. Try to keep a little bit of that. I don't want to sound like a guru of anything because I don't even know
sure.
myself properly yet. But I think that's the beauty of this. It's about learning about yourself, your own behavior. How do you react in certain situations? How do you behave when this happens?
Hmm.
Um, Stuff like that. And because by knowing yourself, you can understand the world around you way better, right?
Yeah.
Because we tend to point fingers everywhere, kind of like it's their fault. It's their fault. It's because of this. Sometimes it's basically a matter of a few adjustments at an internal level.
Yeah.
And yeah, but look, there's something I would like to talk about is this moment where I got my first job as a freelance concept artist, because that was like my first big gig as a freelance concept artist. So
Yeah.
I was just going to this event because that's something I find extremely beneficial for artists. For artists, I know nowadays is like in the current times is not the most optimal option, but whenever it's possible to travel and to go to these events, I recommend it because the amount of friends you can make there and contacts and meet your superstar artists, and get knowledge directly from them and have them review your portfolio and stuff is just priceless, dude.
Hmm.
So plus you get to see new places. It's just like refreshing at a almost like a soul level.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was at this event and I was just showing my work, and someone passed by and kind of glanced over and it's like, nice. So that's your work. That's so cool. Yeah. And then they left. And the
It's
same
like, oh,
day,
thanks, I
yeah,
guess.
I was like whatever. Well, you were saying that, and then later that day, um, they approached me back again, and it turns out it was an art director.
Oh,
And it was like, look, the reason I didn't tell you anything is because the moment I say I'm an art director, you kind of treat me in a different way. So you kind of you take my words in a different way. So that's why they were like trying to keep it like low
that's
key, and
funny.
yeah. And I was like, yeah, nice to meet you, I guess. Thank you so much for everything. And they handed me over their like the card,
Their business card.
the the business card, yeah. And a month later, I just got an email, and they were like, "Hey, we got this project for you. Would you like to take a chance at it?" And I'm like, yeah, "Sure." And that was like pretty long because it was like a lot of images, an entire book for an RPG game, and it was written by someone who's really famous here in Spain in that field, in that genre especially. And that was like, I was so excited about that. I was like, my first gig, dude, I made it. And of course, then I started to compare the prices with like the rates and everything. And I'm like, oh, well, it's not that much actually. But it's fine.
Hey.
Like
We've all been there. It's like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah,
$15 an hour, and then you're like, oh, oh,
yeah.
I guess that's not that much. That was a lot to me.
Ex-
Like, yeah, I get
yeah,
it. Yeah.
exactly. So, but yeah, that was the first time, and I found it quite impressive the way it happened. Because it's like I just went to an event, started showing my work around, and that happened. And it's like, damn, it almost feels like it was meant to be that way,
Yeah.
right? And then you don't always run into big projects like that, but sometimes get like more individual commissions, like something like more brief, like it only takes a few days
Yeah.
to get done. And of course you always think about the previous one. How
Hmm.
much did I say to the other guy it
Yeah.
was? What was my daily rate? Because then you start thinking of hourly rate, daily rate, or should I charge per piece? And it's like, who do you think you can ask all these things to? All your contacts, anyone anyone you consider like they're deep enough into this stuff that they can. At that same event, I was like asking other professionals that I met, like, hey guys, someone just asked me to do like a few images, and they're supposed to be like really polished illustrations, and I just don't know how much should I charge. And some of them were like, well, I think 100, and others were like maybe up to 300, and very different numbers, right?
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, that doesn't fix anything.
That
I
doesn't help
still
at all.
don't.
Thanks.
I still don't know.
Sure.
What should I charge? So you try. You just try. And some clients just tell you like they have a fixed budget and they can't really
Sure.
change it.
Go outside that.
And
Yeah.
some others just ask you like, what's your rate? And they can run away and never talk to you again, or they can just ask you to. I mean, that's pretty. All the professionals, just talk with you and just have a nice conversation and tell you, they're pretty transparent about those
Hmm.
things. Um, but yeah, sometimes they just never call back and you forget about it. So that's a weak spot of mine, which is to keep creating these expectations of, we kind of have a new project, right? Like we have something new to work on right now, and they never call back. And it's like I kind of created many plans based on this gig, and it
Yeah.
never happened. And that's kind of discouraging. So last year I kind of taught myself to not depend on that and not put things on a side just because I think someone else is going to come and is going to need something from me,
Yeah.
right? And I've even had experiences with clients who are like low profile clients, at an individual level, and they didn't know how this works. They didn't know anything about the value of what you do, and they were kind of surprised at the price at the end, and they didn't want to pay and stuff like that. So you're like, I wasted 2 weeks of my life in this, on this, and
Yeah.
I'm never getting that back. But it's fine. I kind of use all these things. I'm not sure if you think the same way, but I always look back at everything that happened, and I don't regret anything because I believe that everything that happened to me kind of led me to this moment,
Yeah.
to this version of myself,
Yeah.
and otherwise I wouldn't be thinking this way nowadays. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have this knowledge. So there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road, but I think it's a long-term kind of journey, like long distance run,
Yeah.
it's like a marathon, they say, not a
Yeah.
sprint. Although sometimes you got to do some sprints, but you can't just sprint forever.
Yeah.
So
Otherwise, you'll burn
that's
out.
why many exactly. That's why many people end up like that. And yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know how to express this happiness and joy that I feel when I'm working on my own project, and I don't
Yeah.
even know where it's going. But the thing is that you see, I don't care where that's going.
Yeah.
I don't even have like a schedule for it. I just have so much fun working on that, and at some point, I know something's gonna come out of it.
Yeah.
Either a book or like a short film or something. I don't know. Maybe not only one book, maybe two books. Who
Maybe more.
knows,
Yeah.
right? No one knows. So all that matters to me is that I'm having fun with it, and on the side, I'm kind of like making some money with other projects, helping other people,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's I guess it's a balance you have to find
Yeah, that's really cool. It
between
sounds like
everything.
that. I mean, if you think about it, the biggest advice that you could give to aspiring artists is to network basically and meet people. And a great way to
Yes.
do that is to go to conventions and to go to events, because you can get professional context there. You can get feedback. You can talk about budgets.
Collaborations
You can
are
collaborate.
also a nice way
I mean, like,
to.
yeah, like you even, you made a YouTube channel, but it's basically, it's like, okay, how do you make money? Just meet people and post your work and it'll fall into place. And you can't really predict exactly what that path is going to be, but put yourself in the mental headspace of, put yourself in the goal of where you're wanting to be and act like you're already there. So like, and the concept, or, what the saying of dress for the season that you're wanting to go to, like, just act like you're already there and work for it and be active and be around. And, you know, it's really vague and there's a lot of nuance, and you have to be disciplined, but not too disciplined that you burn yourself out and not have any fun. But basically, don't lose track of why you're creating it in the first place, which is your passion and your love for the craft. And it's funny,
Yeah,
you
just
started off with
know
like the
yourself.
actual craft, and now you're into like storytelling, and it's all of it. And as you said, it is a journey of self expression and exploration of just discovering who you are as a person.
Yeah, man, just try as many things as you can, you know, just to make sure you're kind of dismissing that stuff out of experience and not because you kind of convinced yourself in your mind, that nah, that's not really what I want to do. Like, how do you know? Have you ever tried that? And of
Yeah,
course, there's a lot of stuff that you can instantly tell, no, that's there's no way
yeah, I'm
I'm
not
doing
gonna do
that.
that.
Like, for
Sure.
instance, in my case, like, I don't want to do logo design, not when I have this. Like, this
Yeah,
is not knowing this, right?
yeah.
This is what I want to do.
But you did logo
Or
design, and you came to that decision out
yeah,
of experience and doing it instead of.
perhaps it's not a good example. Like, imagine music production, for instance, right? Like, I enjoy doing that, like playing the guitar or something for
Sure.
myself, just out of pure recreation, right?
Yeah.
But I would not make that as my profession, for instance. And yeah, I truly believe that you know, you were talking about ways for artists to get known and get out there and all that stuff. I think collaborations are a really good way to know other people and to learn a lot more,
Yeah.
especially like challenges or yeah, like contests, like the art station challenges
Yeah.
or
You mentioned that.
there's this website now. Yeah, CG Cup, I think it's called,
Hmm.
and I think it's from the same guys from Firestarter magazine,
Oh,
which
cool.
is an amazing magazine as well for just keeping up with all the new stuff in the industry and other
Hmm.
artists and what they are doing. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Find someone who is willing to work together with you. I guess do collaborations and stuff. That's a really cool and enjoying way as well to learn, and to create stuff. And yeah, yeah, I think that kind of sums it up. I don't know, along
No,
with
that's
the
really good.
Facebook stuff and all these kind of try to be present. Like have your own website, your own accounts on pretty much everywhere. Like look, I had someone approach me for a project from Tumblr, and
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah. After the call was almost over, like when we were finishing the call, I'm like, wait, just one more thing. Like, how did you find my work? Oh, it was on Tumblr. We found this image pretty. And I'm like, Tumblr? I don't. I never post anything there. And it turns out one time, when you finish posting something on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, they give you that option to also post on other social media, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
I clicked
Mm-hmm.
on the Facebook and the Tumblr one, and it got posted there.
That's
And I
funny.
never knew. Yeah, and I'm like, holy shit! Just so you can see where, like, the more the more branches you have,
Yeah.
right? The
Mm-hmm.
better, more
For
more
sure.
exposure. And yeah, that I guess that links up to it, follows up with the discipline of also posting every day on social media, or once a week, or every three days. I don't know, it's about the algorithm, right, and the way they work. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's about finding your spot, I would say. And you can only do that out of experience, right? You try, see if it works. I know people who've tried that. They've been conducting these kind of experiments at a personal level. Like, for 6 months, I'm going to try to do this. I actually did stream on Twitch for half a year, every single Monday, I think it was, or Friday, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
But it was once a week, right? And man, that was a cool experience. The downside is that I'm easily, how should I say, discouraged
Hmm.
by those breaks that are forced upon me from stuff that I can't control. Like, for instance, we got a trip coming up, and I'll be out of town for a few
Sure.
days. Man, I will not be able to continue my daily stuff, right?
Ah, yeah, rhythm is
And then
important.
when I'm back, it's like something I call the break the chain, the breaking the
Yeah.
chain method, the not breaking the chain method, I would say.
Yeah.
So I feel extremely bad if I miss out once, because I know the next day, and it's something that's just here, it's in my mind. All it
Yeah.
takes is to just don't skip it the next day, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm like,
No, I'm the
oh,
same way. I'm
that's
the same
interesting.
way. If I, my wife says it's my 100 to 0 mentality, where it's like if I wake up and I work out, then
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna draw art. I'm gonna drink a lot of water. I'm gonna go to bed early, and I'm not gonna have dessert. But if I wake up late, and I don't do my morning routine, it's like, I'll have a Costco muffin for lunch. I'll,
Yeah.
drink something tonight. Maybe, make some cookies.
Yeah.
Stay up a little extra late. Like the so like rhythm and momentum is really important, and that feeds in directly into what you're talking to
Yeah.
about discipline.
I feel so lazy and so guilty when that happens,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, well, since we stopped once, maybe we can take another day off.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that duality you're talking about, where it's like, I
Yeah.
feel you, where it's like, hey, rest is important. You need to take care of yourself. Like, don't burn
Yeah.
yourself out. And the other is like, yeah, well, now you're just being a slob, and now you're just being lazy, and now you're
There's
just
this
like being
there
afraid of like work and like failure.
there's this Greek saying that everything that's in excess is bad.
Yeah,
I think I kind of feel that, because it's okay to take breaks. It's not okay if you only take breaks all the
yeah,
time.
for sure.
It's okay to work really hard, but not to constantly work hard with
Yep.
no stops. So yeah,
Yeah, that
I don't
makes
know.
a lot
I
of
I,
sense.
I even thought about, like, I hate running, and a few
Yes.
years ago when we were running, and they offered me the chance to, do you want to take a break? Do you want to stop here and then we come back home? And I'm like, hell no! If I stop here, there's no way
I'm
I'm
never gonna
continuing
start
on.
running again.
Yeah,
I feel that.
yeah.
I get
And I
that.
could not stop. Yeah, it's the not breaking the chain method, but in a different way, I guess. It's
Yeah.
like, no, dude, if I stop here, I know it's gonna be really tough to get back up later. So I guess you can apply that to everything you do. Like, for instance, with your habits, with like sketching and doing paintings every day, or streaming every day, or making one video for YouTube every week, or I don't know. I think it's all about organization, organizing yourself,
Yeah.
and really, yeah, really scheduling everything. And I usually don't like to be that blocky. I tend to flow with whatever I need and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm both types of behavior,
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like really structured. Sometimes I'm like literally whatever,
Sounds
whatever
If I
happens.
had to take a guess, you're probably most productive when you're structured, and you're most chill and happy when you're whatever, because it's those two sides that tend to
Yeah,
go
but
that way.
after you've been so structured, you also
Yeah.
feel happy because you accomplished something that
Mm-hmm.
it took you so long. And
Yeah.
about the night owl or like an early bird yeah, I'm definitely an early bird, I think.
Yeah.
I like to wake up earlier, and I feel like, yeah, like you're somehow like ahead of other
Yeah.
people,
Oh, I agree.
because like everybody's sleeping. You have this chill time to, it's like a different type of focus.
Yeah.
But here comes the duality, because at night it's like so magical, dude. You just put your headphones on and just get work done. There's not a single noise around. Nobody comes to bother you. No calls, no emails, no nothing. It's just you and work,
Yeah.
and you just get it done. It's amazing. The bad thing is that the next day, of course, you don't want to cut sleep. So you'll have to wake up a little later, and
Yep.
that's I don't like that because I can't really sleep that long when it's like daytime, you
Yeah,
know.
I get that.
But I do take naps pretty well. I'm pretty good at
Naps,
that.
dude. Want to be a good artist? Take naps. Nah, sleep is
Take
important.
naps.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Adrian, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story. Is there anything that you want to plug here at the end? Do you have a link to the project that you mentioned earlier? Do you have a
Sure.
handle for
So
ArtStation or Instagram?
yeah, it's on my website, adrianvirlan.com, or I also made like the specific website for the project, which for now it's like the exact same website, but it's called
Hmm.
heavenorian.com.
Okay.
And you can find it on my website, on my ArtStation, my Instagram, wherever. What I'd like to do is to give a shout out to Lightshare, which is our very podcast that
Yeah.
me, Dom, and Andre host like every once in a while. And yeah, we just reached 100 subscribers recently. So
Congratulations.
we thank you so much. We want to make like a celebrating episode for that. And yeah, I just wanted to appreciate this chance that you brought me here. And yeah, I'm just so thankful, man. Thanks for everything.
Of course. Glad you can make it. Yeah, we'll have Lightshare down there for sure. Check out their podcast. It's really great. And then your handles for your ArtStation Instagram and then your website as well. So, Adrian, thanks again so much. Viewers, I hope you appreciate this as well. If you want to help establish the future podcast topics or support the podcast at all, you can support me over on my Patreon, and that's in the link down below as well. All right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
See ya.